Welcome to Your Mental Breakdown, the podcast where you get to follow along with a client in real therapy sessions.
And you'll hear two licensed psychotherapists
That's us.
breaking it down afterwards, so you get a look behind the curtain.
In this episode, we go down the rabbit hole of tequila, Zoom filters, and some of our worst old hairstyles.
In the session, Drew goes on a work trip to Vegas, together alone with his girlfriend, and that triggers issues of rejection, validation, and control.
And in the breakdown, we dive a little deeper into the triggers and the emotions that come up, and we look at differences between being alone and feeling lonely.
And if you're not already following us on social media, please check out our Instagram at your.mental.breakdown and our Facebook page and join the group. We'll be alternating weekly live events on both Instagram and Facebook.
Just bear with us. We're trying out both, seeing which one we like more, seeing which one you guys like more. Either way, it's a little weird not having a conversation with someone. So I think that Doug and I are going to try to do the Instagram live together and see how that feels.
Together, separately.
Exactly.
And please, please, please take a second to rate us and a minute to write a review for us on iTunes. And make all your friends subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Force them into therapy because that's always a good idea.
Stick around. I am Doug Friedman.
And I am Meredith Levy.
And this is Your Mental Breakdown.
How you doing, Dougie?
I'm doing fair. Pretty solid fare today. You?
I'm pretty good. Just another lovely day in LA. And I was going to take a walk before we recorded, but I got sidetracked looking for tequila tasting clubs online.
That's fantastic. I'm going like your headset, Waldo. I don't know.
Nope. Tequila tasting. There's this watermelon basil margarita that I really want to perfect. And then it's just a dark hole, rabbit hole, whatever they're called. You could just obviously go down, and I did.
Right.
So
did you find
that happened?
One? Or many?
I found so many, and then I just never pulled the trigger because then my mind goes to, well, I know enough about tequila. Why don't I just go and try and buy some of my own of different ones?
What's your objective in it? To have a better palate for tequila or just get exposed to tequila you didn't know before?
Both. But yeah, more of a variety of unknown, harder to get, smaller batch tequilas.
Is there one called Mockingbird?
No, I don't know. Is there?
I don't know, but I've always, I would say since I was a kid, but since I knew the joke, Tequila Mockingbird.
Oh my God. That's, yeah.
But I wonder if there's an actual company like a Mockingbird tequila. That would be great.
Have our fact checker check it.
Speaking of which, if you would like to be our fact checker, where the hell have you been? You're late. By the way, you look fantastic. I was just telling you before we started, you look great. You're rolling your eyes. You really do, though.
That's very sweet. Do you guys know that there's a filter on Zoom that can make you look better?
Oh, man. Not one of the Snapchat, now you have dog ears and a nose, but an actual.
But that I'm going to do next time. I'm going
right?
to, did you hear about the lady that turned herself into a potato in her meeting on Zoom by accident? She couldn't undo it.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
You guys have to look it up if you haven't seen it. She puts this filter of her as a baked potato with eyes and her face on it. It's her with her face, but she's a baked potato. So there's a screenshot. There's a picture of all however many employees, right? On this meeting, and her just sitting there as a fucking potato. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Wow. Love it. But seriously, your hair looks good. I hear people freaking out all the time about hair.
Well, thanks.
Well, not all the time. During quarantine, where you can't tell right now because I'm wearing headphones, but if I take these off, I got the afro going.
You sure do. That is an amazing afro you have. Well, I'm not going to lie. My hair guy, Drew, came over to my house last week.
Oh, that's why.
Thanks, Drew.
Okay.
Oh, Drew. I didn't even, wow. That just clicked.
What if it's the same Drew?
Oh my God. Is it? No, because we made up the name Drew and he's also not a hairstylist.
That's
or
correct.
24. But yeah. So thanks. You noticed.
Close. Did you ever see me? No, I don't think you've seen me in my afro days, but I used to rock the afro.
Well, it's fucking, it is, now that I'm looking at it right now, it is kicking. It is amazing.
What was the wildest hairstyle you've ever had?
It's a great question. The wildest was unintentional. I don't know if, well, maybe like just a few years ago, I had it like super pink for a little bit. It was really cute.
That's color. That's not style.
Oh, hairstyle. Well,
right? I mean, did you ever do like a little spiky punk phase?
Ew, not intentionally. No, no offense. I just don't have the face for it for anybody else. But no, I had like a bob, like platinum. Yeah, like a platinum bob with bangs. And then I decided.
Oh, yeah.
I had red hair and I wanted to go platinum. And they like did it overnight, which they shouldn't have. And basically my hair turned yellow and like fell out. So I basically had like a boy haircut.
Wow.
Yeah, and wore a hat for a long time. You had dreads.
I did have dreads.
Fucking
That's right.
amazing. We gotta post
fun.
that picture on our site.
Oh man, that is scary. You know what I did when I was, and this started when I was a kid. Not the dreads, but crazy hairstyles. I remember getting into heavy metal as a little kid, growing my hair out, and I made a homemade costume and I made a Superman costume and I was so proud of it. But I had this, long and at the time red hair and I was young. I don't know, like maybe 10, 11 years old. And we go trick-or-treating and we're going to houses and this one old lady opens the door and goes, "Oh, there's a princess and a robot." And she looks at me and there's Supergirl.
Oh
man.
Oh no.
I think I turned around and ran to my mom.
Did you want to have your hair that long or did she make you? Oh, okay.
No, that was all me, like getting into heavy metal.
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
I think
okay.
I remember a Kiss album that was just their four faces with nothing but hair.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, hair.
Right.
Hell yeah.
But the old lady didn't know that you were in a heavy metal phase. She just thought you were a girl.
Supergirl. Speaking of Supergirl.
Speaking of Supergirl, Drew.
Right? Yeah, Supergirl and Guy took a trip to Vegas together. Well, not together.
Good
separate
one.
together.
Yeah.
That's where it all that's where it all goes to shit. So if you are just joining us, you are about to hear a session with Drew. Where he is right now is right now in the show, he and girlfriend are dating, but work doesn't know they're dating. So they go on a work trip to Vegas and hijinks ensue.
Yeah.
So stick around and we'll be back with you in a little bit.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I put in my 2 weeks this morning.
How'd that go?
It's the first time I've ever put in my 2 weeks. So it was a lot of new and I didn't really know how it was going to go. And then I sat down with my manager first and just kind of was like, "Hey man, just want to let you know I'm putting my 2 weeks in." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, this, I'm just not happy. I need to kind of venture out and figure out what I want to do."
Yeah.
It's not that I don't love you, because I do. It's just I gotta go. And he started crying and he was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna be able to do this without you." And I was like, "Sorry."
And that was okay with you, right?
Yeah.
It was, "I'm not gonna be able to do this." Oh, I disappointed him. I let him down. It was, "No, I'm resolved."
Yeah, because I felt like I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm very confident. While I don't know what I'm doing,
right,
I'm very confident in this is the right thing I need to do right now.
This is the direction. Remember when we talked about it's more empowering to run to something than to run away from something?
Yes. And I feel like I've been running away from my job for a while.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm running towards something. And so I was just talking to my mom. She's like, "Why do you sound so relaxed?" And I was like, "Because I am. I feel good, about this whole situation." And then I talked to my owner too. And I was like, "I put my 2 weeks in." He's like, "Why? Are you going somewhere else?" I was like, "No, I'm just kind of hanging. I'm figuring myself out and kind of figuring out mentally where I want to be and what I want to do."
Yeah.
And he was like, "All right, cool. If you want to come back, come on." And I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah. How was that? How'd that feel? That part, his reaction.
His reaction, I didn't take it for too much, just because while I appreciate it, he doesn't really care.
Right.
You know, like, and that's cool. I don't need his approval for me to leave or stay.
Right.
Having both of them have an open door if I do want to come back, I have the opportunity to really figure out what's going to make me happy and do it like, because I want to do it, not because I need a job or I need something.
Right.
It's like the first time in my life where I'm kind of taking that leap and just kind of going for it.
I love that you have the resolve for
Mhm.
what you're doing. And I also love that you didn't just peace out, fuck you, I'm done, and run away from it, because that would have closed the door.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you need that door open, but like you said, it gives you a little extra webbing in that safety net.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? The leap. Most leaps are a leap of faith.
Right. I have no idea what this leap is. It's like I'm jumping. I feel like I can see the cliff. I can't quite see the other side yet, but I know it's there.
Right.
And so I'm just jumping.
What's your faith in?
I know God's got me. You know, I know my plans. It's more of an overall, like an idea of what I want to be and being intentional. You know, I think that's another really big thing I've kind of been thinking about lately is being like really intentional of what I'm doing. You know, I think overall everything, I'm very confident in it, and I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all. It's just more so the underwhelming feeling of not knowing what's going on.
Emphasis on underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's there, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to call bullshit a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? But not like beating you over the head with it. just recognizing it for what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not scared at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Having that fear is also where you get to have that courage and that faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I just got to find myself. The resolve is I've got direction. That's my intention is that way.
Yeah.
So I know I've got more focus. It's intentional because I'm going that way. I'm not overwhelmed by that not knowing.
Yeah.
I would venture a guess and say that you're probably more excited and eager.
Yeah. And going off the scared thing, because I think the way you said it kind of clicked for me. I think to bring disappointment into the conversation.
Sure.
I now see, like talking, I think it makes more sense that yes, I am scared because I have to let it be there to have the courage and the excitement. You know, I think, yes, it's definitely there, but more so because I'm excited and like I do now have the courage to kind of go do it. Not so I'm trembling in fear, like,
Sure. Absolutely. And I love that realization creeping in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this one, but I once had a client say, God, you got to help me with fearlessness. I need to be fearless. Like, no way. I'm not going to help you with that.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like, right. Yeah, that too. I'm not that good. Not by a long shot, right? It's impossible. It's also, it's not the way it works.
Right.
Courage is the thing that we want. We only get that with fear. If we weren't afraid of anything, we wouldn't be courageous.
Right.
We'd probably just be arrogant or ignorant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But to feel that fear and do the thing that you're afraid of, that's fucking courage.
Yeah.
If you had no fear about jumping off a cliff, like then it's no big deal.
Right.
But when you're fearful of it, it takes courage to do it. So you do it and then you go, great. Right. And it's weird too, because courage is usually what we feel after we faced our fear.
Right.
And then we do that enough and we get the experience of going, oh, wow, this was okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't a cliff. It was like 2 feet.
Yeah, it was a puddle jump.
Yeah, puddle jump. No problem.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And that's how we build confidence.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of weird thinking back on the succession of like events over the last 2-3 months.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like everything here so far is kind of happened to build me up to like right now, which is cool too, because now I have like what we've been talking about, these milestones. You know, I have references of like talking to dad, talking to girlfriend, shit going down and still being okay. And like all of that now is kind of giving me like the little nudge to be like, okay, this is going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, so like now recognizing that has been really cool for me too. Speaking of girlfriend, just while I'm thinking about it, I went to Vegas, right, on Tuesday, got back last night.
Right.
Work trip. I think it was on the ride to the airport. I was like, hey, kiss me now. So like, you don't have to do it later. I know you get freaked out just in case.
Because work still doesn't know.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's still like a big fear for her. And so I was like mindful of it, but I still don't understand the whole concept. Like it's still, I don't get it. And I texted her. I was like, hey, can we have a conversation of like, should I talk to you? Should I not talk to you? But if you want to hang out, let me know. Because then I'll come hang out with you. And that sounds way more fun. she said, I don't know how your night's gonna go. And I was like, what? And I'm like, are you drinking already? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say the night is gonna go. And so that triggered, that instantly triggered me. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what is going on? Like, what?
Did you recognize it as a trigger, or are you just saying it now because now you can look back and see?
I definitely recognize it as a trigger.
Gotcha.
But I was still triggered. And I was like, cool, like, have a good night. Like, have a good trip. Like, if that's what this is going to be, fine. Like, I'm fine with that. But don't get upset with me when I'm not texting you and, like, talking to you and, like, all of that. Like, if that's what you want, then cool. That's not what you want.
If you're saying we're not together on this work trip because work doesn't know we're together, then we're going to be not together on this work trip.
Right.
Okay, I can do that, but you can't have it both ways because that's too confusing for me, and I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, and like I'm trying to voice that to her.
Yeah.
But she's like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on either. You know, and I'm very confused, and like I don't really get it. Like I don't get it. And so we went to dinner. I ended up sitting right next to her because I was the only seat available. And I was like, well, this is ironic. This is really funny, actually. And like, we didn't talk like all dinner. And like, now
overcompensating for it? Okay.
And like looking back on it, that's more obvious than us just talking and kicking it. You know, and I don't think she understands that. Not that I need her to understand that, but I don't think she sees it that way. I think she sees it as don't talk to me, don't do anything, just move forward past dinner, we go gamble. And then one of the girls was like, yo, yeah, we just took Adderall. Do you want some? And I'm like, fuck no. Like, nah. And I made the comment of, oh, yeah, no, you guys are all fucked up because you guys are all on Adderall and you're drinking. And somebody else was like, yeah, we all did it. And so I looked at her and I was like, you fucked up. Like, you know I don't play like that. Because, like, that fucks with me. And so we got in, like, an argument, non-argument, like a silent argument type of situation. And, like, right before that, I just want money, like $500. So I gave her a quick, like, $200. I'm like, hey, go have fun. Like, enjoy your night.
I had to sneak it to her, right?
Just slipped it to her. I was like, hey, I just won. Like, here, go have fun. And then, like, an hour later, in front of everybody, she's like, here, this is yours. And I was like, what? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. That was the hardest part of this trigger situation combined. I was just at such a loss of knowing what I should be doing, what I can't be doing, where do I fit into all of this? Now that I hear myself say that, that's exactly it. Where do I fit into all of this? Because I just didn't, like, the entire night. She even told me she didn't want me there. She was like, why are you here? I was like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, I'm winning money. Like, what do you mean? And she was like, no, you just stayed because you wanted to hang out. I was like, so you don't want me here? And then she was, I didn't say that. And I was like, well, then tell me, like, just tell me what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Just tell me. And then at that point, I was like, dude, this is not worth all of this just to go out and get yelled at. Like, it's just not worth it for me. And I was like, yo, I'm going to go home. Here's all the details to get you in the club. Go get your table. Go have fun. Like, I'm not mad. Like, just go enjoy. I'm not trying to get.
Where were you?
We were still at the hotel at this point.
No. What were you? I wasn't mad.
I was confused. I was very, very confused.
A little more, too. It wasn't just confusion.
I think I don't know if it was a slight, maybe a mediocre fear was there in the sense of, well, what's going to happen when you go out in Vegas like this? Like, you're fucked up. Like, you can't even talk right now. Like, you're fucked up. Who knows what's going to happen? You're in Vegas. And kind of like the prior things of seeing her out and about and doing all that already is my reference point to what it looks like when she goes out.
What does it look like for you? I was confused. Okay, I get that one. Little feared, a little scared. Okay. The fear was kind of about her.
Right.
And if we really dig at it, it's the fear that I'm going to be alone.
Yeah.
So if we go to what you were actually feeling, what was going on for you, what would we name it?
I think being left out. I'm fine with being alone on my terms.
Right.
Not I don't want you here type of situation. I don't care, work, friends, play, whatever that is. As soon as you tell me that, it doesn't matter where we are.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you feel.
Well, and that's how she feels, but how you feel is that's invalidating.
Yeah.
It's a little rejecting. It might be a little lonely, not alone. Alone's fine.
Yeah.
Lonely isn't.
Right.
little lonely, maybe a little disappointed, hurt.
And I felt I didn't have control. I think that was another thing too. Not over her, but over the fact that there was nothing I could do to talk about it, to resolve it, to do anything. And I even said, I'm like, hey, we're not going to resolve this tonight. I know that. So let's just go through the night, go do your thing, like have fun. And we can talk about this when we get home. It's okay. You know, it's not something that we need to resolve right now. I'm not to the point where like, I'm so upset, like, oh my God, this is it. It's just one of those things where like, I felt really uncomfortable. Felt really uncomfortable.
Yeah. So much so that I was about to, and maybe you did, just fucking go home.
Yeah. And I was going to, but friend was like, nah, like come party, like come have fun.
Right.
You're going to enjoy it. And she like, it was cool because she like made sure I had a good time.
I'm glad she kind of stepped it because she knows the dynamic and she's like, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
Come, just be here. There's something that you actually have more control over than you're recognizing, but one area that you absolutely don't have control over, which you are recognizing, and it's great. You don't have control over what girlfriend does, over what happens, over anybody else, really.
Right.
I think you actually realize that one very well. What I do have control over is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And you are feeling conflicted, it sounds like, because I want to slip her some money. I want to talk to her because she's sitting right next to me. I'm okay with telling people at work about us. And when you say, I don't understand, you know, where she has a problem with it, it goes back to all those feelings and emotions we were just naming.
Right.
It's not that I don't care. It's that, well, I actually do care. What I'm feeling is that confused, frustrated, the hurt, disappointed, rejected, left out, invalidated. That's a shitty way to be with my girl.
My mindset was like, just get through the night.
Yeah, get through, tough it out, swallow these feelings, don't say anything. And at some point we go, wait a second, I'm not down with this.
Yeah.
And it's that's where we have the conversation with her, or we could go, hey, that Vegas trip was tough. You know, here's why. And I'm not cool with it. You can do whatever you want. I could sense from you that sort of nonverbal conflict that you guys had was that little judgment there. Yeah, you're going to be fucked up in Vegas.
Right.
I'm not down with that, you know? And there's a piece of it where I'm not down with it. I'm not going to participate in it with you, but I'm not down with it. Like, I don't really like that you're doing that.
Right.
I can't control you. I need to allow you to be that way and to accept that or not.
It was lonely in that sense because it was fully, what do I do?
Yeah.
And 9.5 out of 10 times I'm going home and going to sleep.
Right.
That's
because I can be alone, but I don't like being lonely.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
And you just nailed it.
Yeah. And I think the validation of friends saying, no, come out, come have fun, really allowed me to take a step back and go hang out with her, not go because girlfriend going. And I had a great time. You know, it was a fucking amazing night. But it was because that allowed me to kind of get out of the mind frame of why doesn't girlfriend me here?
Right.
Without having to feel like, oh, I got to go figure my shit out.
Kind of what you're saying. You said it a little earlier, like, where do I fit in, right? Girlfriend is rejecting me right now. I don't fit in with her. And that compounds feeling lonely because that's the person I'm actually with, right? If I chose to just be alone, I wouldn't feel that lonely. I wouldn't feel that rejection and validation, right? But it's almost like I don't fit in. I'm not being seen. And then friend comes along and goes, hey, essentially, I see you. You belong. You fit in. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I see a smile creeping, starting on your face because that sensation I think is so validating. And it's when we're, I do fit it. Yes. Okay, I will. You know, it reaffirms that for us. That wasn't about girlfriend. And it wasn't about that gives you permission to now be there and watch over her. Right. It wasn't that. Right. It was, I'm seen. I don't feel so lonely. And now I can be here in this way. Yeah. Which was really nice. And like the other big thing to kind of give kudos to girlfriend too was, I set up a whole night for like 20 people and like it was a last minute thing. And like I pulled some strings that like they were difficult, you know what I mean? And like it happened and it was a really fun night, but she was the only person that actually said thank you. And like she at the club. At the club. Yeah, she like reached behind this other girl and like scratched my back. She's like, thank you. And I was like, yeah, of course.
You know, so like that was cool too. It's weird that that stuck in my head, but I think it did because I know we've talked about it before of me wanting to provide for people. I think a lot of the reason I went through all the hoops and jumps and getting everything together for that night was to be wanted in a sense, in a big sense.
Sure.
Across a couple different platforms. Because I mean, I was there with like head honchos and corporate, like the top people, and they're like, "Oh, you did what? Like, you what? We're doing this? Like, cool." And like, I'm not there to get a pat on the back, but like, it made me feel really good that she recognized just a quick thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
there's something about being acknowledged and appreciated that's really important. What you did in that moment was like, yeah, of course,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it reminds me of, you know, my wife used to thank me for washing the dishes after dinner.
yeah,
You know, and be like, what? Of course.
yeah.
I always do that.
yeah,
And she'd say, yeah, I know. And I appreciate it.
yeah.
And it's funny because I would get mad at her for thanking me. Like, what are you talking about? This is who I am, my Southern upbringing. You know, like, yes, of course I'm going to do that. Right? Like, don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
And her thing was, yes, I do. And I want you to know I appreciate it. And that's what, to me, that little scratch on the back was. Hey, thanks. I appreciate this.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
I see what you do.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you've said before you want. You know, it's validation for who I am, which I think is huge.
Right.
For you, it's usually those little things.
Right.
Because the little things reinforce something big that's in there. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What do you think of that?
I think looking back on it now, like after that, I was really cool. Like I was fine with it. Like I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like we're good. And then kind of fast forward into the next day, like, I mean, she lost her ID and like all this fiasco stuff. But I went into full like take care mode of like, don't worry. I mean, like fully taken care of to the point where like I had a helicopter on standby to like get us back home, like worst case scenario.
Wow.
Which was cool, but like it was like again a huge favor from like one of my buddies who owns a helicopter. It's not like I had money to go spend on a helicopter. But it was
like throwing that Amex black card down.
Yeah, right. It was cool to kind of be able to on my own take care of it without saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. I already got a helicopter. I got a driver. I got, you know, it was like, don't worry about it. I got it taken care of. And she was like, all right, cool, I trust you. It was like, she has no idea about any of that. But it was, that as well was another reinforcing factor of trust and like her knowing that I have her back. So it was cool.
I want to sprinkle something into that.
Yeah.
Because there's something about that I love and something about that I don't. I love the trust.
Yeah.
That she saw that she was like, oh, you got this? Cool. Right? That's fantastic.
Right.
And that's one of your strengths.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
The part that I don't love, and I'm not saying I dislike it, I'm just saying I don't love it, is that it's reinforcing for you that making sure that there's control.
Yes.
That I have control. Then it's known. I know we have an alternate. We can get on the helicopter. We will be okay.
Right.
All is right in the world.
Yeah.
And there's something about recognizing that some things are just going to be out of control and we'll see what happens.
Right.
And letting that be okay.
Yeah.
This is almost, not entirely, reinforcing I need to be in control. I need to have control or we're fucked.
Yeah, totally. But it was completely unnecessary.
Unnecessary, maybe logistic wise and how things worked out.
Right.
But if we think about your mental state,
right?
Yeah. At the time, it was the most necessary.
Yes.
I need to make sure there's some control here. And that's what I'm scratching at.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that's a big area where I struggle. I like having control, but I don't want to be controlling. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out because I want girlfriend because I love who she is. I love her the day I found her more and more every day.
Right.
But I don't want her to be like me. We talked about this last time. I don't want her to be like me because then there's two of me. And like, that's not fun.
Right. So that look that you gave her when she took the Adderall.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What was that? There's something you don't like. Just say it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
it's
I mean, it has to do with seeing what my mom did and that path she took. And yeah, maybe it's just one Adderall here and there, but like that's a path to something way different. and I've seen it firsthand. And like I know she knows that I know that. And for her to do it anyway, that's the part that I don't like, because it's like,
is she your mom?
No.
Is she your buddy that OD'd?
No. Yeah.
What? What?
It's still unhealthy.
True.
Like because I smoke cigarettes.
So
Right?
Cheeks, motherfucker.
Right?
Yep.
No, we're right there. Because it's like, she does too. She doesn't smoke nearly as much as I do, but she'll also be like, hey, like, let's slow down, let's quit, let's kind of not do this.
Yeah.
Because like, it's not healthy either. Friend has a horrible fucking addiction to Adderall. And so she can't go through a day without it. And so I don't want her to be influenced by her best friend of that scenario, because you take one this week, or you take two next week, and then it's going to be 7. Because everything around her is telling her it's okay. And so I think it's almost my duty to be the guy that says no.
How? What do you mean?
Of voicing that I don't support it. And I did that for the group. Right. I didn't single her out. Because I was offered it in the group, and I was like, "No, this shit's so bad for you. Like, you have no idea what you're doing." And I said that in a group setting, and so I felt better about that, because directly talking to her was a way better way to go about it than, "Hey, can we talk for a second about this?"
Yeah, for sure, that was better than that, because that might have blown up in your face, right?
Yeah.
And you needed to say something, because you couldn't just hold this one.
Right.
I think there's another option there, right?
Okay.
Because you didn't get to say what was really going on for you.
Mm-hmm.
If we recognize that girlfriend's not your mom, she's not your buddy that OD'd,
right?
Okay. Neither is everybody in the group.
Right.
We don't know what taking Adderall one night is going to mean for each of them.
Right.
What we do know is what it means for you and what it triggers for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's different.
Right.
That's coming from us. We can speak what's going on for us. Because as soon as we go, yeah, that's not healthy, that leads to bad places.
Yeah.
And you even said, I don't want her to be doing, I don't want her to. That's that controlling thing that you don't want.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And it comes from, that fear that that's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary as fuck for me, because it's gone as bad as it could possibly ever go for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
The maybe only difference would be if your mom didn't wake up.
Right.
But for you didn't know if she was going to.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the worst it goes.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So recognizing that girlfriend doing Adderall in Vegas triggers that.
Yeah.
Whereas for her, she's just having fun with 15 other girls.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We recognize that we're feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between going, hey, that's not really healthy. Like I've seen that route. You guys are fucking your bodies up.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from, I'm really uncomfortable with this. I've been around people that have OD'd. I've seen where it starts. And oof, man, it's just, I might need to check out.
Yeah. It's different.
How different?
It's way different. One's an accusation and one's a vulnerability standpoint. I think one is pointing the finger, and then the other one's kind of opening up of, hey, this is where I'm at, not a, hey, you're fucking up. Because nobody wants to be yelled at.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, fuck off. Like, yeah. Okay.
Totally. That's our high five moment right now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's, when I talked about rules and boundaries, the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
You can name a rule for somebody. Oh, you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you remember when we talked about it, was driving in a speeding car.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The rule is you can't speed. Yeah, they can. They're going to.
Yeah.
They might get a ticket, but that's their choice. If you try to enforce that, you're controlling, which is what you don't want to do.
Right.
And it won't do anything.
Right.
Right? It'll make you uncomfortable, them uncomfortable, or conflict, whatever. But the boundary is, I can't be in a speeding car.
Right.
Okay. You can still speed. I'm just not getting in the car with you. I can't be around people popping Adderall.
Right.
You can still do it. I'm just not going to party with you.
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable. I've seen where this goes, and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that judgment? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But you're not telling them not to do anything. You're not, like you said, pointing the finger at them, making it that external rule.
Right.
You're just going, here's my boundary. Here's where I am.
Well, and then my fear, because I thought about this too, of just because I wanted to go home, but my fear with that was that she was gonna be so fucked up that she didn't know what's going on, And it happened when we were at the club. Like, we were going to the bathroom, and she just walked the wrong way and walked into like 100 dudes, and they're all like, yeah. And I was like, God damn it. Okay, come on. And like, if I wasn't there, what does that look like? Mm-hmm. And so like that fear of me not going or stepping away is real, because I've seen it when I am there. So who knows? And like, what if she doesn't remember?
That's the what if game, right? We just got into that, and you're triggering that part of you that learned that game the most fucked up way imaginable. Yeah. Because as soon as she's walking into that room of guys, you're right back to 16 years old. Yep. Finding mom. We haven't even scratched that one yet in its entirety. We haven't walked through that, and we will at some point. Yeah. Because it's still embedded in there. Big time, man. I mean, something like, my girl's a little fucked up in Vegas and walked into the guy's bathroom for a second. Like, I mean, even that, you just kind of went, it's funny. It's funny. And it could be a funny story. And it could be like, some dude like whipped out his dick and started pissing right in front of me. Like, oh my God, this is not the women's bathroom. And you're laughing. And it's funny. And it's okay. Right? It might be like, that's what happens. Right? It's not okay when you're back to finding my mom OD'd. And the consequences can't be any higher. They're life and death and severe. You had a buddy, his heart stopped, right? You had to call 911, get them there to get him going again. You don't know. There's a part of you that goes back to those times when you were so, here it is again, out of control. And the thing that you've been telling yourself, if I can just be in control entirely, and you're nodding your head because you know where I'm going, right?
Yeah. I think you're exactly right in me wanting full control over everything. And the thing that's been going the last 2 weeks is the room for disappointment. And so I think now I need to make room for not having control, because I can't control everything. It's the world. I can't control everything.
Yeah. And remember that what's in your head is, but if I can control everything, everything's going to be okay. Yeah. Is that a true statement?
Yeah. Because when I have control, at least if it goes wrong, I can blame myself. When I don't have control and it goes wrong, then who knows?
Yeah. That's another layer we'll scratch into at some point too, right? Because what you're saying is, it's okay if I can blame myself or fault myself for something. Because I can take it. Yeah. No, you can't, and I'm not going to let you. Yeah. That's too much, man.
Well, and I think like speaking on girlfriend, the reason I bring up of me going with her and her walking away, and at least I was there. If I didn't go and something were to happen, I would have fully blamed myself still.
Yeah.
Of I didn't go, this is my fault. Why didn't I just say sorry and go? Right.
That path never ends. Never ends. Yeah. Because you can't be in control of everything. We're really, when you get down to it, in control of absolutely nothing. Yeah. Yeah. Which is scary and liberating.
Yeah. Well, because I was going to say, like, if I was in control of everything, is it okay? Yes. Am I ever fully in control of anything? No. And so it's the constant, I don't want to say constant terror, but
why not? It is.
That cycle of just constant is because I'm never in control.
Yeah. And I have to be in control of everything. It's become a very binary black or white thing. Right. Either I'm in control of everything and everything's okay, or I'm in control of nothing and nothing's okay. Right. And we're learning to soften and find some middle in that.
Yeah. And I'm okay.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. I put my 2 weeks in today and I feel great.
Right. Yeah. Everything's fine and nothing was in control. Yeah. I mean, you controlled when you put your 2 weeks in. Right. So some things, we do have. How your boss reacted, I couldn't control that he started crying. Right. It's like, I can't do this without you. Right. I controlled that I said, oh, yeah, this is how it is. Yeah. Couldn't control how the owner reacted, but he did, and I was cool with that too. Yeah, and even in the moment of talking with my boss and me being able to say, nah, like, this is kind of like my final decision, it felt, like, I pat myself on the back for that one. I felt really proud of myself because I'm really bad at saying no. I'm really, really bad at it, especially when, like,
people start getting emotional and they're like, I need you. And like all that kind of comes into play. That's instantly where I'm like, okay, yeah, I got you. Let's do it. Like whatever you need.
Right.
So for me to be able to say no and say, hey, nah, I got to go do this for myself was really the first time maybe in my life, other than like the conversation with my dad where I'm like, nah, I got to talk real quick, like that little kind of thing. This is the first time I've ever really been able to like say no while I'm wanted. I don't think I'm trying to say that in the sense of like, it's a really good feeling. It's more so understanding that I can say no and still be happy.
Right.
Because whenever I say no, I feel like that's when guilt and like depression and like all that kind of come into play. And that's why I never say no, because I hate feeling that way. And so like when I'm a yes man, that's more so when I feel comfortable. And now kind of wrapping everything together, it's really nice to be able to just say no.
When you say no to others, you're saying yes to yourself, right? So can you frame it as empowering yourself? Because there's something that you're saying yes to.
Right.
And you're strengthening something. Then it gets easier. Then we can actually also hear no from other people and see, right? There's the big nod and go, oh, right, they're taking care of themselves in some way.
Right.
Or they need to do something themselves. But yeah, man, I think really cool experience for you out there in sort of like being able to see where control is and where it isn't, where you have it, where you don't. So I think you're getting a lot of that stuff come up, which is good because we're getting to process through some of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm more so excited to kind of see what I learn coming up. So I can feel a change. I can feel something going on. And I know there's going to be some shitty stuff coming, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite mindfulness quotes is, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. Shitty stuff's going to come at you all the time. It's what's our relationship to that.
It feels good. You know, I think I said that last week, you know, it feels fucking good.
And we are back.
Okay, so continued from last week. Last week Drew talked about he was going to give his notice, and then he opens up with the fact that he gave his notice. And it was a big deal. He said it was his first time ever giving notice at work. And so I guess he didn't know what to expect or anything, but he probably didn't expect that the fucking manager was going to cry and tell him he couldn't do it without him.
Right?
I was dying. I was like, oh my.
What a great balance of experience for one of his superiors to be like, I can't do this without you crying, and the other one to be like, okay, cool.
Right. Totally.
Like, what?
Yep. It was amazing. And yeah, you guys talked about how he was okay with that, with potentially disappointing somebody, and that. So now he's running to something instead of away from it.
Right, which we kind of teased last week, but he was feeling that and feeling empowered, which I thought was great. You know, he's really taking what we're saying and not just, you know, thinking about it and applying it, but it's like real life experience where it's happening and coming up for him, which is awesome.
Oh, and so the whole leap of faith thing, and then you guys talked about sort of this like having this fear and courage and faith, and how when you face the fear, you build confidence, and that's how like fear is so necessary in order to be able to take those steps forward.
Right. And Drew acknowledging that letting in the fear the same way that he was able to allow for disappointment is okay, because you let the fear in, and doing the thing that you're afraid of gives you courage. You don't get courage to do the thing you're afraid of. Doing it brings courage. Right. I think he got that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was during then when, as you were talking, he's like, actually, now that you're saying it, yes, this is right. You know, he was processing it and connecting it all while you guys were talking, which is always so lovely to see.
Oh, yeah.
He also, at some point towards the beginning, I think he mentioned being intentional in what he's doing. He said that, I'm finding myself working on being intentional. And I just love that. I think that that's mindfulness basically, is being intentional, being present, engaged in the moment, paying attention on purpose. And it's so awesome and also good to be able to know when you're doing that or do that, and also be able to shut it off, right?
Go back for a second. You said something I like, and I want to make sure I understand it and understand the lack of it. You said paying attention on purpose.
Right. In order to become mindful, in order to become engaged in the moment, there's so many distractions that can happen, and we tend to just zone out sometimes. So let's just say I got in a fight with my boyfriend, which I don't have, right before I'm going into a session, right? And I'm really upset. And I say to myself, okay, here's what I have to do. I have to get mindful. I have to pay attention on purpose. So I am going to take whatever just happened, put it in a box, put it on a shelf, put it over there. And I am now going to get grounded. And then we can sort of dive in and get really engaged in the moment so that I'm now one-on-one with my client, listening to them. My mind's not wandering. You know, it usually doesn't with clients, and that's why I love what I do. But of course, we have to bring ourselves back to that place constantly. Oh, okay, what am I going to have for dinner? And then, oh, no, I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, you know?
Right.
So paying attention on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose, it's intentionally being present as opposed to sometimes when you can just go on, like we've talked about this episodes past, going into autopilot and just
exactly.
Right.
It's the opposite of autopilot. Yes.
Right. So then they're on the ride to the airport and he's just checking in like, all right, so
this was so frustrating. I just want to snuggle her so much.
So does he.
Sorry,
that's the problem.
Girlfriend. I don't know you, but I don't like you.
Well, and look, I said this on the Facebook Live because somebody brought it up. We're only hearing what he tells us.
Oh,
right?
Of course. I mean, yes. I don't really dislike you. I don't know you.
Right. From her perspective, it might be like, God, he's so possessive and he's so clingy and he doesn't allow me any room to breathe.
Of course.
And, we have no idea.
Yeah, no, just a lot of that stuff, man. I get it. It just made me feel sad for him in that probably because I have been her. I have been that semi-shady girl who was just like, I don't know where the night's gonna, I don't know how the night's gonna go, but sure. Like, what are you talking about? You're my girlfriend. What do you mean you don't know how the night's gonna go?
Right.
Right. And so, and again, I have no regrets whatsoever about my past. I know that I was unaware and young and whatever. And okay.
Which they might be too. We don't know.
Totally. Yeah.
I think what's cool is he's respectful of it. And in the car ride on the way out to Vegas, and I don't know I think it was the car ride to the airport, not the car ride all the way there.
Yeah.
He was just kind of looking for what's my role? What do you want to be? And let me know. And what I said to him was like, right, because you can have us not date or you can have us date, but you can't have both. Like that's
right.
I mean, I remember relationships way early on for me that were fun because we weren't telling people we were dating and there was some excitement to the taboo nature of it or something like that, right?
But it feels like instead of it being taboo and secretive, it feels like it feels to me like her behaviors indicate that either she's embarrassed or that like she's not engaging with him secretly, like hiding in the bathroom in Vegas, like making out. You know what I mean? It's like a very sort of, and I'm not saying she is embarrassed of him, but it just doesn't seem.
It's not together.
Yeah.
Like you can have that taboo and secret. And when it's together, cool, we're in it together and that's fun. And it's our secret that we're in Vegas and they don't know. But
exactly.
It does. I agree with you. It does seem that they're missing that piece for sure.
Yeah. And I just want to be like, Drew, stop. Don't give her $200. Don't and at the same time, I get it because he's just being him,
Yep,
but
absolutely.
I'm that person also who will I'm very like generous and giving. And when I care about somebody and at what point do I need to say, okay, where's my self-respect though? Fuck,
Yeah.
Like, am I getting something reciprocated or at this point, am I just giving to hope that they like me,
Yeah. And I think he's reaching almost that conflict point where you go, okay, it is true to him. Like, he's like, oh yeah, I just won $500. Here's 200. Like, that's what he wants to do. That's the boyfriend he wants to be. So he's not going to change that. He's getting more, I think, strength and empowerment in that.
Yep.
At some point, there's going to be a conflict where they'll have to recognize, wait, this isn't working. Like, how is this not working? We need to fine tune this. And from the conflict point, there will be a hopefully resolution where they'll go, oh, wait, yeah. And they'll move towards each other or move away from each other. Right.
Yep. There was a part which I found all this interesting. I'm going to call you out on it because I was like, how does that work? And I don't normally hear you say things like this. He said at one point that he was confused, and you said it wasn't just confusion.
Right.
So it felt like you were telling him what he felt, as opposed to saying, was it just confusion? What else was there? And I was just curious what that was about for you.
For me, it was when a client will say, like, I was confused, that means there are several emotions coming up, right? Sometimes a client will even say, I was angry. Like, anger is a secondary emotion. What's underneath the anger? Let's get to that. You need to validate what it is first, right? Like, I'm angry. No, you're not. What are you really? Like, fuck you, I'm angry. Like, well, you're really disappointed or you're really there. But you need to validate that initial. So when he said you're confused, like, yeah, okay, but there's something else. What else was there? I wanted him to name the confusion. Like, I was feeling this. And saying I was confused is different than I felt really confused. I was sitting there puzzled and really trying to figure this out. Like, it wasn't that.
That makes more sense if it's because specifically the word confusion, it's almost like that's the end is confusion. What was the confusion, or how did you get there, or what was underneath the confusion, right? Because confusion is, I suppose, yes, it is an emotion, but it's also an emotion that's literally what it is.
Well, and it's funny because what started that was he was trying to name his emotions. If I remember I almost said the scene. If I remember the scene from the session correctly, right? He was like, I think it was the point where he had said to me, he had decided he was just going to go home, and he was like, here's everything you need. I'm not mad. Go ahead. And when he said, I'm not mad, I was like, okay, what were you?
What are you? Yeah.
Right? And he was like, well, I was confused. And he even repeated it. I was confused. I was very, very confused. Like, okay, it's more than that. It wasn't just confusion. I wasn't saying, no, you're not confused.
No,
it's like, it wasn't just that. What else was going on? What were you feeling? Name the feelings, right?
Got it.
Then
and he didn't take it that way at all. Like, I was listening and I was like, oh.
Well, you're an asshole.
And there was... Well, yeah. And I'm super critical and judgmental and, which leads me to another thing that you said that I'm going to just rip you apart for.
Please.
JK. No, at some point you said alone is fine. Lonely isn't.
Right.
And I was like, not true. Lonely is totally fine. Loneliness, the gifts of our emotions, loneliness can cause us, if we channel it correctly, to reach out, to be with other people, or to get to know ourselves better. I have a feeling there is more to it than you just saying it wasn't. That's my guess. Please explain.
It's funny because you're picking up, like, sometimes we can see the forest, not just the trees. We can see we're trying to create something down the line. You can't push everything right away and jump into everything right away. Like, I'm laying groundwork. And the way my brain works as a therapist is when he's talking about something, I'm thinking about all of his frames of reference that I know of. I'm thinking about how his mind works, how we can kind of reshape, and where the new trails are that we want to create. So I know for him, one of his, to use his phrase, one of his biggest things, right, is feeling lonely. He doesn't like that.
Got it.
He doesn't like that fear of abandonment and the separation anxiety that we talked about in the first few episodes, right?
So you're surmising basically what he said, what his thoughts are normally. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Saying, like, he doesn't mind being alone. He doesn't like feeling lonely. There's a difference for him. We can get to lonely down the line, and, like, lonely can be okay and can be a gift, and we can really see ourselves in that. For him, it's distinguishing, like, he was ready to go home, and what he was saying is, I'll just be alone. But what he was feeling in the moment was feeling lonely. Right. And it was one of their friends who knows that they're dating was like, hey, just don't worry about that. Just come out with us. Come gamble. Let's go have fun. And then he felt awesome. Like he belonged. He didn't feel lonely anymore. Right. So it didn't matter.
I was like, why don't you date her, yo?
Right.
Who's that? Who is she?
Yep.
Just kidding. Okay. Yeah. Understood. I had a feeling that both of those things there was more to, and I was correct. As I comment on these things, this is coming from me just listening in, not being initially compassionate, but in my mind, I was like, ew, Adderall, like get over it. And also, yeah, dude, your boyfriend like has a fucking drug addict mom. Why are you being like this? That's just fucked up.
Yeah. And again, from her perspective, it might be like, what's the big deal? Fucking get drunk and take Adderall. We're in Vegas. We're like 24 years old. Why not? Why do you have such a hang up? Just, why'd you even come if you're going to be like a buzzkill, right?
Totally. Yeah.
We don't know. But there isn't a sense of together or acknowledgement of that stuff and of, right? Yeah.
But he did say at the very end of the night, she was like the one person who sort of rubbed his back and said, thanks for all that, or for hooking that up or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Cause he put it together. He busted his ass to put it together. And she was the only one that was just kind of like, hey, this is great.
Right. And also though, noticing how much that meant to him, that it stood out. And you use the analogy of like when your wife would say, thank you for doing the dishes. And you're like, you don't have to fucking thank me. That is my job. It's kind of like both are true. It's the dialectic. Like, no, you don't have to thank me. It's fucked up that you even want to thank me. And also like, yeah, okay, you can thank me.
Yeah.
Right. Like I appreciate the acknowledgement.
Right. And her being a therapist, she was actually correct and more accurate than I was in that moment, because it wasn't just my job. It was, I think I even said like, that's just what I do. That's just me. And she was like, yep, I know. And I appreciate you. And it just floored me. It was like, oh, right. You see me, you get me.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Right. And
like, thanks for being you and thanks for being a good guy.
Exactly. And he had that brief moment of that. And it was, what we were talking about is that's so validating. It's similar to the friend that was like, hey, don't worry about that. Just come gamble with us. Like, I see you. Join us. You belong here. Yep. Such a great feeling.
Yeah. And he even said at some point that he's making room for not having control.
Right.
And I love that. Right. He can't control all of that. And he's making room for that in his life.
Yeah. Which is, man, I love this, that he's like really absorbing it so well. And,
totally.
To answer some of the questions we've got, no, not everybody takes it in the way he does. I mean, he's a fantastic client for this stuff. We talked about allowing for disappointment. Okay. And then at the top of this session, we're talking about, okay, allowing the fear to be there so I can have the courage. And now he's like allowing for not control to be there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a softer way to be with yourself and an easier way to be in the world, because we really, when it comes down to it, nothing's under control.
And I was talking to a client about that today, about how the only thing we can control really is ourselves. And sometimes not even that. She was saying how she comes from a place that where there's a lot of natural disaster type things, and how people seem to be able to respect the fact that we can't control anything in nature. But when it comes to people, it's really hard to accept that.
Right. It's wild. There's a Buddhist saying, which is relax, nothing's under control. When we realize we don't control anything, then we can relax and be at one with it.
Well, we can try.
We can try. Right. But, when we're trying to exert our will over something that cannot be changed, and that's the idea of radical acceptance, it's just going, oh, wait, it just is.
Yep. 100%.
What we're talking about where he is now and being able to be okay with disappointment being there, fear being there, not control being there. He even said, I'm excited to see what comes up and what more I can learn and feeling this change and I feel something happening. Like it's really cool. He's at a great place for this. And I said it a few episodes ago, or you said it warms the cockles of my heart. It's totally, it really is something when you see a client getting it and putting into action. It doesn't happen all the time, and he might slip, he might backslide. Sure. It happens all the time. Not every session is progress moving forward,
Or it is all progress moving forward.
It's just not a straight trajectory up.
Yeah.
That's right. That's well said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you will hear more of what comes up for him and he processes next week. And I'm excited. We're all excited. And we just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. Write that down for a song, Eric. We have been locked up for too long. Yeah. So check our other stuff out in all those different places. You can do that. Facebook, Instagram, website, Twitter, All the good things are happening.
iTunes, rate us.
Review us. Now we can be out because Beckett's ready to walk.
We're out.
Bye.